Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to watch Sailboats in Watercolour. I'm Marion Chapman and I'm going to show you how I created this watercolour painting using wax paper. The brand is Cut-Right Wax Paper by Reynolds. It's from an American store. It's kind of like a food store. And basically you use wax paper to wrap lunches in. So to create it, I laid out a piece of wax paper, took a black marker and drew the shapes that I wanted to cut out, and then I used a blade like a Stanley knife to cut out the shapes carefully, the two sails and the bottom of the boats. Now you'll notice that there's a bit of colour on these pieces of wax paper, so it doesn't come like that. I actually am using it a second time. I created another painting of sailboats, and then in this painting I'm reusing the same pieces. This painting will look completely different, but you can reuse it, which is kind of cool. So I've set aside the wax paper and now I'm going to chat to you about the colours that I'm painting with, and I'm going to put the names up on the screen in just a sec. See that? That's come into focus. Winsor & Newton Potter's Pink, which is a really beautiful soft pink. I've squeezed out a little bit of it just here. It's kind of like dusty rose. The next colour I'm going to be using, if you can see that, oh look, I've got a price on that one too, $19. That's Australian dollars, of course. This is Holbein Cobalt Turquoise Light, and $19 was a really good price because in fact I got that overseas. And then I'm using a second blue to smooth that up to the camera. This is a Daniel Smith product. It's a big tube of cobalt blue, and then I've squeezed some out there. So really I've got a cobalt blue, which is a beautiful perfect blue. Then I've got I've got a turquoise blue, so that's kind of a greeny blue, and then I've got a pink, which is kind of like a red. So I'm kind of using a bit of blue, green and red, you could say, if you wanted to. Now what I've got to do first is get these wax pieces sitting in position with a lot of water and a lot of paint. So the first thing to do is load up your brushes with the three colours so that you can get the colour on quickly. Thoroughly saturate my brush, and the first colour I've got here is, this is the blue section of my palette, is the Cobalt Turquoise Light. I'm mixing up a lovely big lush puddle. I've mixed it on the side there, and then I'm going to add a little bit more water and just mix that up again like so. Then over here I've got, in my palette, I've got the turquoise. So my next brush, another round brush but with a beautiful point. Same deal, I'm going to make up a beautiful puddle on the side of the squeezed out lump of cobalt. So I've made a good puddle there. Same deal, squeeze a bit of water to make a bigger puddle, stick it in there. Yum. Cobalt blue, perfect, beautiful blue. It's transparent, and it's the purest of the blues, I reckon. Right, blue. Now I've got two brushes loaded, and I want to load a brush with the third colour. So I've got quite a big brush for this third one. Let's thoroughly saturate the bristles, and no I don't. I remember. I was going to squeeze it out. Actually, I don't really have a little, oh yes I do. I'm going to make room in this little one here. This, oh, I can see in the corner I've had a beautiful violet there. So I'm going to kind of generally clean it out. It doesn't matter in the least if I mix the colours. So I'm going to squeeze out a lovely fat pea's worth of Potter's Pink, and with this brush loaded with water, same deal, make up another puddle. it is a awesome idea to stick to a limited palette when you are creating art. You can always add more colors later, but if you limit your colors and stick with those colors and just make up new beautiful colors with these colors, you can't go wrong. Now you'll notice, well, I don't know if you can tell by on the screen there, but that potter's pink has just kind of dissolved quite easily. Oh, it doesn't dissolve, that's not the word. It's made a puddle. It's blended beautifully with the water, but there's very little there. So I'm going to have to squeeze out more of that. It is worth taking your time. I'm just going to squeeze it in the corner. It is worth taking your time to prepare these colors first, because once you begin painting, you don't want to be distracted by having to go back and get more color. You don't want your painting to start to dry while you go over and start mixing paints. This way I am prepared. I've got 3 brushes, they're fully loaded, and I've got my wax pieces cut out. Now, lovely big spray bottle, a towel down here to catch all the excess water, and I'm going to begin to spray. And I'm lifting it up, and then I'm going to pop it back into position. I want all the bits to contact. Lift up the little pieces that are going to make the bottom of my boat. Stick them down. And when I say stick, I'm just after that tension between the paper, the water, and the wax paper. And then a little bit of water up the top for a bit of sky. Get that next lovely piece. Tapping it down so that I know that it's all in contact. I'm going to, oh, that one's moved. I'm going to turn that down. Oh, no, it doesn't go that way. It goes that way. Oh, it's just not doing what I want there. There. Stick where I tell you to, hey? That's it, like that, like that. Oh, I'm going to push that one to the side, make it go off the side. And then I'm going to squeeze the wax paper so it makes beautiful textures. I ran a workshop just yesterday with some beautiful ladies. And we made beautiful landscapes using this method. And we didn't cut out shapes to make objects. We cut out shapes and made landscapes. Right, plenty of water. I want it all over the place. Now, I used these same pieces the other day. A bit more water while I'm telling you about that. I used these pieces the other day to create a big sailboat picture. So I've used the exact same ones, and that's why you can see some color coming off of that. So in this section, I begin to apply all the paint, and I've sped the video up so that it's hopefully a little more interesting than it was watching me slowly apply all that paint. I start with the beautiful turquoise. I've sprayed it to keep the colour moving around the page. I'm now picking up some cobalt blue. That's that beautiful Daniel Smith cobalt blue. And I'm flicking. The whole time I'm not touching the paper with my brush. I'm flicking the paint on because I really love what the paint does when you allow it to mix just with water and using the water that's moving around on the page, which is why I rotate the page around a few times as I'm painting. But I'm using that long, that beautiful round brush with a tip, and it's really awesome to flick the colour out of something like that. I've just applied a little more water there to make the paint continue to flow around on my hot press paper. I find that paint flows just as easily on rough paper, and I often usually use rough paper. I tend to really like the textures on rough paper, but anyway, I'm rotating around, and I've put some flicks of that rose colour in the sky, and I can see them just sitting there. and later on I go and get a long head dagger brush and move them about. But for now, as I was painting it, I'm focused so much on getting those colours moving, and I'm focused also on getting colour around the shapes. I don't really want that much colour to go into the sails because I want them to look a lot like white sailboats, which is why I'm not picking up the bits of wax paper in the sail sections to add colour underneath. So I've rotated again, I'm making the water and the paint flow around and around, and then I make the paint come down into the white section, and then I come up to the last bit where I'm really enjoying those colours mixing in that beautiful way that would be impossible to do without just allowing the water to do it. That's the dagger brush, and I'm getting rid of those little lumpy pink bits that I didn't like in the sky and getting them to mix in and look more like a soft sky. And in a moment we'll start on the bottom. Now, alrighty, I'm liking what all the colour is doing, and I'm liking this over here. I'm getting rid of all the white bits on the edges. I find them a little distracting. I'm not liking that pink over there, so I'm going to come back in with more of the turquoise and just fill that in a bit, and then have it come over here and down here. Thanks for watching part 1 of creating sailboats using watercolour and wax paper. And if you want to tune in to see part 2, please hang on, and hopefully part 2 will load as you're watching. Thanks again. Please give me a thumbs up or comment, ask me any questions. Thanks guys.